everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how Apple is launching their own do-it-yourself repairs for iPhone 13, iPhone 12, and the iPhone SE. How does this affect right to repair? Well, let's talk about that now. All right, welcome back. So this is a huge thing that Apple is doing. Now, I'm going to be talking about a couple things here. First of all, what Apple's doing. Second is about the iFixit, and third is about the kind of right to repair movement here. So if you don't know what right to repair is a movement that you should be able to repair your devices, whatever they may be, basically over-the-counter items here, and that shouldn't affect the item's performance here. Now, this is a huge issue with technology, but it's also a huge issue with farming equipment. And the farming equipment, in my opinion, is way worse than what we deal with here because, you know, for example, I use my computer every day. Now, if I need to take it in, well, I can just put this computer in the car or whatever. You know, if it's a laptop, I could bring that in my backpack. But if you have to take a tractor to a John Deere location, that is huge. And it's not just the tractor. There's a lot of really big, really cumbersome farm equipment here. If you've ever been on the highway and you've realized that there's, you know, like a farmer taking up half the street and is really slow, it's because, well, maybe they have to take that particular, you know, piece of farm equipment into the John Deere location, and it makes everybody's life worse. Here's what Apple is doing. Apple is making publicly their manuals for some of its products. Not all, but some. Now, apparently this is a big deal. And so what they're also doing is they're also allowing people to basically kind of repair their own things here. Now, there is definitely a catch, because of course there is here, because Apple is a publicly traded company and it needs to appease its shareholders. So of course it needs to be protective about this here. Now, again, I've made a bunch of videos on this, but essentially one of the things that I want to do is be able to take my iPhone screen in anywhere and see if I can get it repaired here. And this actually happened to one of my iPads here, right? It was actually cheaper to buy a used iPad than to replace it for my kids, right? Just because I broke a screen, that doesn't mean I have to replace the whole thing here. I'd like to be able to basically replace everything here. And the whole question of this is it anti-competitive to do this here? And we will see, because there is a lot of, like for example here, the president has signaled the right to repair, support for right to repair. And I think this is one of those things a lot of people, whatever you feel politically, could agree with. You own your phone, you want to repair it, etc. And what this is going to do is this is going to happen in Europe first, and then it will probably spread everywhere, or in South Korea, as I've talked about before here, right? This is really good that you can kind of fix your own thing, but the catch though is that you have to use their like a bunch of parts that are basically qualified. You can't just use over-the-shelf equipment here. Now, what they mean here is that this particular paragraph here, Apple is doubling down on their parts pairing strategy, enabling only very limited serial number authorized repairs. You cannot purchase key parts without a serial number or IMEI. If you use an aftermarket part, there is an unable to verify warning waiting for you. This strategy hamstrings third-party repairs with features and loss scare tactics that could dramatically limit the options for recyclers and refurbishers, short-circuiting the circular economy. So this is the catch here, and that's the biggest issue. Eventually, it'd be nice to be able to switch your part out here. And I was also thinking about this here. The number one thing that I like about my phone here, right, is the camera. Okay, the camera is the number one reason that I like it here. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to just upgrade the camera for my next phone here. And it'd be great if I could swap out this camera for a better one here, right? But I can't do that, right? I have to buy a whole new phone to do that, to go buy a new camera here. But what if I could swap out my camera for a Logitech camera? Or let's say a Canon camera, a Nikon camera, right? Or another kind of camera company that just makes really good, you know, mobile phone cameras. Wouldn't that be awesome here? So for example, this is an aftermarket case. What if I could just buy a bunch of aftermarket parts for my phone here? Now, this has absolutely happened with the Fairphone here, and I think the Fairphone is pretty cool here. Now, I did a whole video about this, but basically the Fairphone is a phone that you can take apart and swap here, and I think it's actually really good here. The thing is that I like using Apple software, but I also want to be able to use and swap out the hardware, kind of like the way the Mac ecosystem set up here. This camera that you're viewing me on is a Logitech camera, because the camera in the iMac, this is not the new iMac here, but the camera in the iMac is not HD, so I have to go get a better camera. And so the thing is that I'd like to be able to do the same thing with my phone, and because it works so well with the Mac, there's no reason it can't work with iOS here, right? And so, you know, this is a really good idea, but here's the thing, like, what happens if you do, what if you be able to get to a point where you can get iOS on a Fairphone? Like, what would that do? Well, obviously Apple's profits would go down, or would they, right? I'd still probably use the macOS software, but I might have to pay for it, right? And I wouldn't mind doing that. Like, you know, they have to you know, in a certain way, they would have to, you know, make sure that it would be competitive here. So I really do like the idea of a Fairphone, and I do like the idea of being able to repair everything, but I specifically like the idea of swapping out my camera. Now, of course, this is the number one thing Apple doesn't want you to do, but the other thing is, like, you know, a lot of the people here on YouTube talk about only the consumer side. There is, to a certain extent, Apple does want to make sure that everything works perfectly well with their phones here. And to Apple's credit, they actually do a really good job, because I rarely, if ever, have problems with my phone, right? I know they do happen because I see lines for the tech support at the Apple store here. But really, my phone is, you know, it really works here. And my Mac really works too. I have few, if any, problems with my Mac, right? And my PC, same thing, right? I have more problems on my PC than I do my Mac, which is why I buy my Mac. But over the years, right, like 10 years ago, this was a big problem. But over the years, my PC has, I think on my PC, I've had maybe the blue screen of death twice in the last 2 years, so maybe once a year, where on my Mac, I've really pretty much never had a problem here. But the point is that we can get the Mac OS kind of operating system and the swappability of parts, but on your phone here. And that's what I think it's going to happen at some point in time. And the other thing is, I would like to be able to swap out my Lightning port for a USB-C. I hate the Lightning port so much that, in fact, if Europe does make the USB-C a thing, I might just buy a European iPhone next, right? Because why would I use the Lightning one? I would buy one and I would ship it over. And it does, and I'm sure Apple will find a way to deal with that here. But I would absolutely do that, because I cannot stand the Lightning port. They really need to make it a USB-C. And I know why they don't, because they want to make profits bigger. And that's, of course, why would they not want to do that? Because they're a publicly traded company, right? It's just the way things are. The same thing with the Epic versus App Store debate here. They do not want to do that, because Epic will just create more competition for them, where they already have a very nice walled garden here. But to their credit, the walled garden is very nice. It's just, it's possible to do without it. And the best example is the macOS. I like using the macOS a million times better than I like using iOS. I can't tell you, you know, I mean, I still like using iOS, but I like macOS a lot better here, right? You know, when it comes to this self-repair, right-to-repair movement, I think that Apple is definitely trying to do the least amount before they get forced to do anything here. It's like they can go to Congress and say, hey, look, we're actually doing something, but that something might not be enough. So that concludes this video. I want to know your thoughts down below. Please comment on this video, because this channel doesn't get enough comments, and we need your comments. I read all the comments because there are so few. Please comment. It really does help us out. Also, please be sure to like and subscribe. So if you really like this channel, you can support this project on Kickstarter. If you wanted to know Python for finance, you can learn to trade, learn about Web3, the metaverse, and of course, machine learning here. There is 10 levels to show anyone to become a complete beginner all the way to being an advanced programmer. The more you pledge, the more courses you get. All the rewards stack. So the more you pledge, you get all the rewards below it here. So this has tons of content here. It is an absolutely amazing bundle, and you should definitely buy this here, because it does help with this channel a lot when you pledge. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.